Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Pastor Kondlo, all the way from East London. He's a father of two, married, and of course, he is leading a church in East London, Uloyiso Community Church, but also he's a CEO of East London ITZ. Today's episode deals with finances, but I want to give you a chance and so that you can greet also Mfundisi.
Thank you, Mfundisi Noma Mfundisi. I'm happy to be part of this episode of Healing Families, and I'm hoping that we'll have a beautiful discussion around this, the topic for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Today we're mainly focusing on our relationship with money. That's the main focus for today. And it's going to be, of course, a conversation between us. Yes. We will provide questions and engage around those questions. But what do you have that you want to share on our relationship with money?
Thank you, Mfundisi. Talking about my relationship with money, I think it has come a long way, but where I am now, I see money as something that God has provided me as means for me to fulfill His purpose. And when I talk about fulfilling His purpose, I'm talking about the purpose that He has called me for as a father to my family, that I can be able to provide for my family. As a Christian, so that I can be able to support God's work. And as a member of the community, that I can be able to lend a hand to those that are in need. So I see money then as something that I need to manage, that I need to control, that I need then to use as means to the end that I believe God has called me to fulfill. And maybe I could add that a part of that kind of relationship is governed by a few, I would say, values around the way I look at money. I see money as, firstly, that is a gift that I receive from God.
Yes, sir.
So God is the one who has provided me everything that I have. Secondly, I see that money is not something that I need to lose my sleep over, because if God has provided me, I have the assurance that He will protect it. So while I do my best to be responsible, but I believe that it is something that God provides and protects, and it is something that I need to then, thirdly, use a responsible and exercise proper stewardship in ensuring that it is available for use by others and they are able to benefit, because it's not just for me.
Very interesting. Very interesting perspective on money.
Yes, you are looking at money in terms, linking it with your purpose.
Yes.
Then, for me, in a way, it compels you to manage it properly.
Yes.
You used a very important concept, the stewardship. So you are looking at money in terms of you being a steward of money to fulfill. It's not just there to have fun. It's not just there to provide. It's deeper than providing for your family. This then says that the way we look at money will determine how we manage money.
Yes.
Different people manage it differently. Others, for example, you'll find that they manage, their management of money is influenced by the way they grew up. If a person, for example, grew up in poverty, there are two scenarios there. It will be a matter of, I grew up poor, struggling, I can't struggle now, I must just buy and just spend it. What is your take on that?
Thanks so much, Mfundisi. Maybe just to start by amplifying my position before I get to the backgrounds. You're quite right. When we talk stewardship, amongst other things, I could lift up 2 or 3 things that are a part of that element of stewardship. It says that I need to know that I use money to buy things for their usefulness rather than for their status.
Not just about acquiring.
Yes. It also says that I need to reject any money habits that could result in addiction, which means that the Bible says that one day you cannot serve God and the mammon. So which means that there is a way that money can control you. There is a way that you can be possessed by your possessions. So I need to try and guard against anything that could make me be subjected to the power of money. And maybe lastly, I could say that one of the things as a steward, I actually have developed a level of skepticism, maybe I would call it healthy skepticism, against any of these get-rich-quick schemes. I have developed some skepticism against buy now, pay later schemes. Because as a steward, I need to be very careful about the trap that could be behind some of those. Because I need to make sure, as a steward, the mentality that I have is that the money that I have is actually God's money.
Yes.
So I need to be faithful in managing that which God has given me in order for Him to elevate and promote me to higher levels of stewardship. And now coming to the question that Mama says is a very interesting one. The backgrounds.
Sorry for this, before you go that, I think it's very important to highlight out of what you are saying that the key here is who is the source, who is your source.
Exactly.
And the source here of money is God. Because I think that's where most people miss it. That who is the source, because they see the money as coming from my strength, from my skills. I worked for it. And yet even those skills, that ability to go to work, that ability you've been given by God, that talent which brings in a way money, is you've been given by God. And once one misses that, then one is not going to use money and be a good steward of money.
Because then you develop a sense of entitlement.
Yes.
You feel that you are entitled to indulging yourself in any way, because now this is something that you have earned and something that should make you happy. So that is fueled by the wrong mentality of thinking that this is because we are clever, because we are stronger, because we work harder. So
yes, this is my
saying.
Money.
Yes.
I'm spending my money.
Yes, yes. Now coming to the issue of history, I'll probably lift 3 examples of how the background can affect us. You've started with the one background, the background of lacking. What tends to happen with the background of not having enough money as we are growing up? It tends to fuel a mentality of looking at money as security. Because now we are scared of going back to where we were. So this can result not only in us trusting God less and being overly anxious about money, but it can also result in stinginess. It can result in hoarding. It can result in us being overly risk averse and leaving opportunities to exercise good stewardship over money by investing it. I mean, the Bible has got a very interesting story about the men that had talents, and one of them was given one, and he sat over it and said that I was afraid, so I could not invest, I could not do anything. So sometimes that mentality or that upbringing, that background of lack can result in us being frozen and not being able to exercise good stewardship. The second interesting one in terms of our background is probably the community that surrounds us. And I'm sure we have watched people in our community, people who have had money and who, because of money, they are using money as a power base. They become powerful in the community, they become powerful in the neighborhood, and they become powerful even in families in terms of decision making. No decision can be taken before Malumus Banban, who's got more money. And now we grow up thinking that in order for me to be powerful, in order for people to pay attention to me, in order for me to be admired, I need to have money. So we work hard with this intention of saying that the moment I have money, everyone will respect me. The moment I have money, I'll drive in big cars and everyone will be clapping hands at me. That's again a wrong value that we can develop around money, because we're now using money as a source of power, as a source of drawing attention and fame, which is very dangerous. And I think we've seen it in our Black communities. People get opportunities, they get that tender, and the moment they get it, they think that I now need to be the big guy in the township. Let me show them how much I have. Let me buy that powerful big car. Let me get that expensive watch and gold chains so that everyone can see. Because we grew up watching those guys in our communities who were splashing it, were showing it off, and we thought that they were getting all the respect. The last one is where we have seen people or families in our communities where during the month end, it becomes like a feast of note. The moment it's month end, you see the Kentuckys, you see the brides and everything. You feel like it's a wild party as if there's no tomorrow. This is now a value of money where there is a sense of entitlement. But when I have money, man, this is let me make myself happy. So it's almost using money for self-medication to numb the pain and just to live as if there's no tomorrow for a moment. And those are habits that have led people to impulsive buying. Those are habits that have led to people to what I call revenge spenders, who are saying that I've been slaving for the whole month. I deserve to really just spoil myself to death. You know, these are the things that have grown up with people, unfortunately. And you find that even when they grow up, because these are now the voices of their past, they still now end up influencing the way they handle money.
You know, you have said so many important things, Mfundisi. For example, when you spoke about stinginess, for me, what came to my mind was that for you to be stingy, you don't have to have a lot of money. You can be stingy even if you do not have money. It's a matter of the heart. How is your heart, you know, towards money? And also this thing of you wanting to be seen, you know, when you've got money. It also talks to the psychological makeup of the person, that person has got a problem. It may be a low self-esteem. It may be rejection. Now that person wants respect and all other things that a person has gone through, and now that person sees money as a way to self-medicate. You know, this if, for example, it's rejection or respect, he wants to be respected. Maybe I'll be respected if I have money, and also, you know, I make people see that this and that. Maybe I'll get attention. I'm not getting attention as I want. Maybe I'll be loved. That person lacks love. You know, those are psychological problems that people may be having as well, and use money to self-medicate.
Yes.
Yeah. Guys, you are throwing in very interesting points. Yeah, perhaps the stewardship. Now, I think what my take home point out of what you have said, Pastor K, is a question of ownership. Who owns the money? Is it God that owns the money, or is it me owning the money, or is it the money owning me? Because that's another problem. You can be owned by money, which results in people not sleeping, wanting to get more, and get tempted. In the process, greediness comes in, and you then see corruption come in. It started with small misconceptions of money, but it becomes a big issue, a cancer that has somehow cut across society. It's now rotten. Stems from that ownership. Money owns you. It drives you. It decides who you're going to become. Now you're driving big cars. Nobody can say anything to you.
Yeah, that's so true.
People using money to define themselves. Others, they don't know, who am I?
Exactly.
And in trying to answer that question, they use money to define themselves, you know, to have identity, you know, with through money. So which really becomes a problem. You know, you talked about greediness, because I want this status. Now I want more money so that really my status in community may be there at that level, which I want, and then from there corruption comes in.
In fact, there is some very interesting statement that Billy Graham once made. He says that if a person gets his attitude towards money right, it will help to straighten out almost every other area of his life. So which means that issues about money can actually be a measure of character. I think as a marriage counselor, I've also experienced that money is amongst the top 3 causes of serious conflict in marriage. Because you meet this person and you get into marriage not knowing sometimes their values towards money, the kind of things that have been instilled in their upbringing relating to money. Now the volume of life has increased. You are now in a home environment and issues come up, and you find that you are on different poles when it comes to money issues.
The way you've been brought up comes in, and then there is that clash now. And personality, another person may have a personality of being an entertainer. Likes entertaining, you know, and not bringing the balance now in terms of that, and or someone may say, oh, I want my wife to have fun with my wife or with my husband, so we just spend buying gifts all the time and not bringing that balance, going to restaurants all the time. And yet, yes, you can entertain, you can have gifts for your children and all that stuff, but there must be a balance, because there is a tomorrow.
That is quite correct. Finding, or at least understanding your personalities when it comes to money becomes very important in achieving that harmony in marriage. Because if money starts coming in to become a problem, there are three things that happen in a marriage. Firstly, there will be lack of transparency around money decisions. And you find that you're married, but you're living in two different worlds when it comes to money. Someone is opening loans from loan sharks on the other side without the other one knowing. And there are different things that are happening on the other side. Suddenly you see family responsibilities being dropped. And conflict starts now flaring up. The second thing that happens sometimes when there are money problems in marriage is impact on intimacy, particularly to males, when they get a feeling that my value as a man of this home is about how much I bring in. Suddenly the guy feels emasculated. Because suddenly the decisions are only happening or are made by the one who has got the biggest purse. And definitely the other person feels disrespected, feels like a non-entity, and that results in lack of intimacy. And the last thing that happens in some marriages, you find that because of money that has started now becoming a problem, there's a reduced trust in God. And people being married, they start now being easily lured by money-making schemes. Because they look at anything that works, anything that will get them out of debt, anything that will solve their current problems. And they start losing track in terms of their plans and latch on anything. Someone comes with this new thing and the hearing of this thing at work, and they go for it, only to find out that it's actually going to make things worse for them.
Which touches now, that what we have just said now touches also on a decision-making skills. And that and also that lack of transparency, instead of bringing this home so that you discuss as a couple, one is doing his or her own thing. Others, they do it also like, let me surprise my wife and buy my wife a car, and then the husband comes with a car, whose money did you buy the car with? Because this money is both of you, belongs to the family, belongs to both of you, so the other has to have a say in terms of how it is used. Maybe it takes me to that question, for example, or that comment, that maybe during counseling or before the couples may marry, a matter of saying, okay, we know that this money belongs to us. We know that we mustn't spend without discussing, we must be transparent. But how much, for example, one can spend, because one cannot, like for a 100 rand or a 20 rand, and have a meeting that now I'm going to buy ice cream or whatever. But a sort of consent between the parties, agreement that how much can you spend without us meeting and making a decision, both of us. Maybe something that the couple needs to discuss and have an agreement on.
Yes, I think it's important to discuss and have an agreement on those. But as we discussed previously, it starts with aligning your money values and having an understanding of those. Then also having an understanding of personalities. I may touch on it. Mamfundi says touch on some of the interesting sort of orientation of different personalities when it comes to money. I can go deeper into that. But now you're talking, these are now the operating sort of parameters of a family. For one example would be to say that we both have allowance of what we can spend, discretionary spending, as it were. But there are targets that we have as a family, and there are assets that we have that have got to be paid for or taken care of. And any decision to acquire an asset has got to be a joint decision.
Yes.
And any decision to open a loan, which now sort of enlarges our indebtedness, has got to be a joint decision. So suddenly now you've touched on what is important as an essential consultation point when it comes to money issues. So I think it's important for young couples to have those broad parameters that sort of help them to understand. But you know, in my experience as a marriage counselor, one of the fundamental problems is that people walk into marriage without having disclosed everything when it comes to finances. And sometimes it's not even a matter of disclosing. This is now where the issue of skill comes in. You find that people get into marriage without even understanding their debt position. They don't have a feel of how much indebted am I? And what is the pathway for me to get out of this? And now, because they don't have an appreciation, it's just this account and this account and this account, but they don't have a global picture of where does this put me. And as a result, they think that is something trivial. Everyone has got accounts and debts and all those things, so I don't need to disclose it. Now they walk into a marriage, and suddenly there are conflicts now around finances because where's your money going? What is this for? What's this payment for? But if this was disclosed right from the beginning, where each party puts on the table their debt position, and there's an understanding and there's a way of consolidating both pictures and saying now as a family unit, where do we start to try and improve our position? And they have got a pathway that they agree on.
Very, very, very important. What's your take?
Well, I think we've covered room. Let's leave what you wanted to say in addition about personalities, or perhaps talk about your money language, or let's take that to the next episode. How do you feel?
No, I'm happy with that.
I think we've covered enough for this episode to build an understanding of our relationship with money and how we are to manage this relationship. And in our next episode, we will then go deeper.
Take it further.
Take it further.
Yes. No,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Pastor Family. It has been a very interesting discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.